Lieutenant Amelia Torres had always stood out from the other pilots at Naval Air Station Oceana. While her male colleagues bragged about their flying hours over beers at the officers' club, she preferred studying flight manuals in her quarters or practicing emergency procedures in the simulator. At 28, she had logged over 2,000 hours in various aircraft, but few knew of her extensive combat training or her exceptional skills in high-pressure situations. The daughter of a Mexican immigrant father who worked as an aircraft mechanic and a mother who served as a Navy nurse, Amelia grew up around military bases. She learned to speak softly but carry herself with quiet confidence. Her childhood was spent watching her father repair fighter jets and listening to her mother's stories about treating wounded soldiers. These experiences shaped her belief that true heroism often goes without fanfare or recognition. During her time at the Naval Academy, Amelia faced constant challenges. Some instructors doubted women in combat roles, and classmates sometimes treated her as a novelty rather than a serious pilot. She responded by working twice as hard, arriving early for training and staying late to perfect her techniques. Her flight instructors admired her calm under extreme pressure and her knack for split-second decisions that saved aircraft and lives. After graduation, Amelia was assigned to a squadron flying support missions, not frontline combat. It frustrated her. She knew she was capable of more, but she never complained. Instead, she volunteered for extra training and studied combat tactics in her spare time. Her squadron commander relied on her to mentor new pilots, thanks to her patience and deep knowledge of flight operations. The base was known for its diverse personnel, with Navy SEALs often training there. Amelia observed their teamwork, detailed planning, and obsessive equipment care from afar. This shaped her methodical pre-flight preparations. Her reputation with the ground crew was stellar. Mechanics trusted her because she understood aircraft systems better than most pilots. She spent time with them, learning about engines and discussing efficiency mods. This made her a sharper pilot, fully aware of her plane's limits in crises. On quiet evenings, Amelia walked the flight line, inspecting aircraft and pondering her Navy future. She wondered if she'd ever prove herself in combat or stay in support roles forever. She'd heard of female pilots breaking barriers elsewhere and hoped the Navy would offer her the same. Her personal life was simple. A small off-base apartment filled with aviation books and model planes from her childhood dreams. She wrote her parents regularly. They were proud but worried about her safety. Amelia rarely discussed the discrimination or extra hurdles of being a woman in a male field, letting her work speak for itself. The morning that changed everything began routinely. Amelia finished her pre-dawn run, reviewed the flight schedule, and noted SEAL Team's training but focused on her straightforward patrol. As she prepped her aircraft, she had no clue hours later she'd face a test of every skill and lesson learned. Her quiet competence was about to face its ultimate challenge, surprising everyone who underestimated her. The emergency alarm shattered the calm at 0407 hours. Midway through her pre-flight, the base-wide announcement blared, summoning all personnel to the briefing room. The urgency in the CO's voice made her heart pound as she secured her plane and jogged to headquarters. Captain Marcus Lee Harlan, the base's top SEAL leader, stood at the podium in the filling room. His weathered face strained with bad news, hands trembling as he set classified docs. Sailors, Marines, and aviators hushed, sensing the gravity. A satellite image lit the screen. A remote mountainous area with dense forests turning to rocky cliffs and valleys. Red markers pinpointed a downed helicopter amid trees, debris in a clearing. Harlan's voice, steady yet emotional, explained a Navy chopper with combat engineers had crashed on a supply run in hostile territory. Her crew were alive but trapped 60 miles behind enemy lines. Insurgents surrounded the site, hunting survivors. Standard rescue helos risked being shot down. The terrain blocked ground teams. Time was critical before capture or death from injuries. Amelia listened intently as Harlan described the tactical challenges of any rescue. The crash site sat in a narrow valley ringed by high ridges, where enemies had placed anti-aircraft guns. Conventional rescue planes were too bulky and slow to weave through safely. Their approach would alert foes long before reaching survivors. Weather was worsening fast. Low clouds and fierce winds made flying deadly. Harlan paused, locking eyes with the crowd. His next words burned into Amelia's memory forever. This mission needs a pilot with elite skills. Someone to fly a small, nimble craft at treetop levels through enemy land. You'll hug treacherous peaks to dodge detection, spot the site, and link up with ground rescuers. The room went dead quiet as he pressed on. The op called for a stripped-down recon plane, lighter for sharper turns. The pilot must skim below radar, using ridges for cover, while radioing the team and survivors. Victory demanded top flying chops, plus deep tactical know-how and emergency drills. Amelia's pulse raced. She knew this was the high-stakes test she'd prepped for her whole career. She grasped the plane's quirks, the routes needed, and the cool head for chaos. Nearby, veteran pilots fidgeted. Some had more hours or battle scars, but reluctance hung thick. Low-level mountain runs evading radar? That daunted even sim pros. Harlan scanned the room, gearing up for the big ask. Amelia's heart thumped as she weighed it. Risk her neck, but seize her shot at combat glory, and save 4 souls waiting for rescue. His voice sliced the strain. I need a combat pilot here with the guts and skill to pull this off now. The words lingered. All knew one reply could seal the survivor's fate. Amelia drew a steady breath and stood. Silence roared as heads swiveled to her slim build, eyes doubting if she could tackle the peril. Harlan's face flashed shock, then spark. He knew her rep for pinpoint work from past ops, respected by spec ops crews. Colonel Ramirez, Base CO, broke in. Lieutenant Torres, you sure you get what this means? His tone mixed worry and doubt, echoing the room's bias against a young woman on such a razor-edge job. Whispers buzzed. Probing her qualms, Amelia's reply rang clear and sure. Sir, I've got over 2,000 hours in low-alt recon birds. Advanced combat maneuvers, hostile NAV training, done it all. I know the dangers, and I can make this work. Her tone stayed pro, but resolve crackled through. Harlan eyed her sharp, reading her poise. He'd sized up countless pilots. Her steady vibe screamed grit, even sight unseen. Lieutenant, this ain't drill, he said low. Solo into hot zones where they've downed birds before. Margins on weather, peaks that break aces. You locked in for that? She nodded firm. Captain, those 4 are betting on rescue. I've mapped that turf, know the birds feel. I can do it. No brag. Just earned certainty from years of grind. Murmurs swelled. Some slammed her green combat log. Others praised her tech edge and chill. Major Vargas, a grizzled flyer, piped up to volunteer, touting his hours and scars. Harlan hushed them. Decision time, based on who nails it. He faced Amelia, dead serious. Lieutenant Torres, lay out your plan. Your tactics, step by step. She stepped up, scanned the sat pics and fingered routes, picking landforms for stealth shield. Amelia's analysis was thorough and methodical, showing deep grasp of aviation basics and tactics that won over even the biggest doubters in the room. I'd come in from the northwest, hugging this ridgeline for cover, she said, pointing to map features. Prevailing winds boost fuel savings, and this path skirts known anti-air spots from intel. In the valley, tree canopy hides me while I pinpoint the crash and radio the survivors. Harlan nodded, impressed, as Amelia laid out contingencies, emergency steps, and backups like someone who'd mapped every angle. Her aircraft know-how and tactics outshone what many expected. Key is staying ultra-low, fine-tuning speed through passes, she added. I've handled like terrain in drills, using air currents and thermals for efficiency and quick exposure. This modded recon bird's specs fit perfect. As Amelia wrapped her breakdown, Harlan traded looks with Colonel Ramirez and top brass. Skepticism had flipped to respect. They saw her plan was smart and doable. She proved not just piloting prowess, but the strategy for a tough op. Harlan's call came fast. Lieutenant Torres, you're on it. Launch in 2 hours. The 2 hours flew by in a frenzy of prep and checks. Amelia teamed with ground crew to verify the modded recon plane's every part. Stripped of extras for lighter weight and better range, it packed NAV and comms gear for the rescue. No room for fixes once in hot zone. Chief Petty Officer Ruiz, the ace mechanic, oversaw pre-flight. He'd teamed with Amelia often and trusted her tech smarts and detail eye. They pored over engine stats, fuel math, and gear lists. Ruiz flagged mod worries but backed her fix-it skills mid-mission. Intel briefs added enemy spots and fresh moves. Amelia scanned recon shots and radio chatter on patrols and freks. She locked in anti-air sights and safe paths using land for hide from spotters. Captain Harlan joined for final tactics, drawing from his rescue vet days. He sketched ground team's crash approach and comms rules to sync with her flyover. He stressed radio silence and codes to block enemy ears. Weather updates spelled trouble. Low clouds, gusts, possible storms. Amelia eyed alt routes and bail spots if needed. The weatherman flagged valley vis drops, forcing heavy instrument reliance and terrain recalled as launch neared. Amelia prepped personally with her usual precision. One last procedure run, survival kit check, suit tweaks. Her cool vibe wowed the crew, who'd seen jitters plague others. The recon plane waited on the line like a coiled hawk, sleek, potent. Amelia knew skill and tactics would make or break it. She did a final walk around, eyeing controls and engines key for low runs. Colonel Ramirez hit the line for last words and green light. His doubt gone, he stressed full base backing. His spot drew a crowd for what many called the riskiest send-off in years. Amelia slid into the cockpit smooth and sure, despite the stakes. She nailed the pre-start list like clockwork, routine easing her edge toward tech focus over threats. Engine fired true. The plane bit her inputs sharp. Mods tweaked handling, but prep let her adjust fast. She tested controls and navs quick, all green. Ground control cleared Amelia for immediate takeoff, and she taxied to the runway with steady confidence. She spotted personnel lining the flight line, faces blending admiration and worry for her safety. Captain Harlan stood by the tower, tracking radio chatter and syncing with the ground rescue team gearing up for their own peril to the crash site. As Amelia lined up on the center line, she drew a deep breath, locking her focus on the op. For lives hinged on her skill and grit to get them home, she vowed not to fail them. The engine thundered to full throttle as she dropped the brakes and rolled. The plane surged ahead, gathering speed fast. It lifted smooth into the hazy sky, hauling Amelia toward her fate and the toughest trial of her flying life. The first 30 minutes cruised safe airspace, but nearing the hot zone border, every second ramped up the peril. She dove to treetop height, skimming foliage and hugging land to dodge enemy radar. The modded bird handled her inputs like a dream, but low flying demanded non-stop vigilance and instant reflexes to skirt hazards. Mountain peaks loomed from the mist like silent guardians of faux turf. Amelia wove through tight passes and deep cuts, her plane slicing between rocks with ace-level finesse. The brutal ground ate her focus, while intel on hunters below piled on mental strain. Base radio flickered as peaks jammed signals. She stuck to tight, coded bursts, progress checks and enemy updates. Reports warned insurgents had clocked engine noise, shifting more anti-air guns to likely paths. Weather soured on cue. Low clouds cut vis, gusts battered control. Amelia leaned on instruments and land memory to hold course undetected. She jinked sharp several times to skirt clouds that'd spotlight her to ground eyes. Fuel math held true, but margins were razor thin. No room for detours or loiter. Each search tick drained reserves, hiking odds of no return. Balancing fast finds with stealth tested her calls and chops to the edge. Nearing the crash zone, Amelia kicked off her grid search at perilously low alt. She pierced the thick canopy for wreck glints, ears tuned for survivor signals. The wilds outdid sat pics. Steep ridges and slot valleys formed a deadly labyrinth. Enemy fire cracked sudden from hidden spots, tracers zipping past like lethal sparks. Training snapped in. Amelia yanked evasive twists that strained plane and body alike. The recon rig twisted nimbly on her desperate yanks, dodging the burst while pressing the hunt. The close shave screamed time's up, for her and the pinned crew. She tweaked her pattern to hot zones, steering clear of exposed nests. Fire, foul skies, and fuel squeeze forced flawless plays on every move. Survivor radio finally buzzed faint but clear in her cans. They'd patched their emergency set and fed her codes on landmarks from their hide. Relief and fire surged through Amelia. This was still winnable amid the hell. Tracking their leads, she caught wreck gleams in a tight glade ringed by jungle. The sight spot was a nightmare, funneled by a skinny valley that'd bear her to eyes and lead. She'd mesh tight with ground rescuers, feeding air scans of bad guy posts. Amelia looped the zone at deck level, sensors pinging faux hides and safe in routes for the team. She kept hot mics to survivors and Harlan's squad, dropping intel that'd make or break the whole pullout. Despite the extreme danger and pressure, Amelia's voice stayed calm and professional as she coordinated the complex tactical situation. Approaching enemy helicopters forced her to decide fast. Engage them or shield the rescue. Her training and instincts screamed that the ground team's survival hinged on her intel and support, not dogfights her recon plane couldn't handle. With fuel critically low and foes closing from all sides, Amelia hit the mission's make-or-break moments. Her sharp thinking and ace flying proved the rescue's turning point. As enemy choppers neared the site, she drew on terrain mastery to steer Captain Harlan's ground team via hidden paths that dodged enemy eyes. Her flyover spotted bad guy posts ground intel missed, letting rescuers nix threats before they hit the survivors. The air-ground sync showed peak military teamwork in hellish stress. She fed non-stop enemy move updates while positioning her bird for max battlefield view with min risk. Her steady radio calls kept both sides locked in amid the frenzy. Captain Harlan later hailed Amelia's tactical edge for foiling a potential bloodbath ambush on his crew. Her sky-high scans of hidden nests let the team creep to the site safe, lock it down for pullout. The ops win spotlighted the edge of a pilot versed in air and dirt tactics. The 4 survivors' extract went smoother than hoped. Amelia's spot-on NAV guided the team right to the wreck, where the crew waited hurt but breathing, primed for evac. Fuel was dire, but she loitered till rescuers and saved folks headed secure to pickup. The home run pushed Amelia's stick skills to the brink as she coaxed her bone-dry bird back through the killer ground she'd mastered outbound. Skies had tanked during the op, heavy clouds, brutal gusts piling on her grind. Her deep grasp of systems and limits saved the day, tweaking fuel and power for every last mile. Base radio chatter leaked the crew's nail-biting weight during her deep hot zone stint. Colonel Ramirez tracked her inbound himself, queuing ATC for top-shelf clearance and med teams on standby for any glitch. The whole base had glued to radio feeds, hungry for her safe wheels down. Amelia's blip hit radar dead on her fuel math cue, proof of the precision that clinched the win. She greased the approach and stick despite bone-deep fatigue and op strain. Ground crews swarmed her ride for refuel. Docs prepped for wounds from that lead storm. Debrief unpacked Amelia's full heroics. Intel geeks gawked at her spot-on reads and primo data on faux setups. Captain Harlan lauded her sync chops and air eyes that green-lit the dirt pull under fire. Media blasted national light on Amelia's key role, but she stayed true to form, humble on her part. In chats, she hammered the team effort and tipped hats to ground pounders for the real grit in yanking survivors from the kill zone. Her down-to-earth pro vibe wowed top brass, who eyed her for command tracks ahead. The 4 crew healed up full and cornered Amelia with personal thanks for her guts and finesse in orchestrating their save. Families penned notes of deep thanks for staking her life to haul their kin home whole. Those ties hit Amelia square, why she'd signed up, and why she'd always back her brothers and sisters in arms. Nailing the rescue cracked wide her Navy path, cementing her as a Top Gun combat ace. She bagged awards for tactics, wings, and cool head lead. But bigger, she'd shown herself and the world gender meant zip for warfighting smarts and spine. The soft-spoken lieutenant who'd risen when Captain Harlan called for a fighter pilot? Now a beacon of grit, talent, and give back that lit fires in military women chasing big dreams against the odds. If you enjoyed the story, please like and subscribe.